Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, it's your host of the Whole Triathlete Show, Debbie Potts. And today I have a very special guest. Actually, two guests on the show, Jimmy Moore and his wife, Christine Moore, who became a nutritional therapy practitioner last year, as I did 2 years ago. And I'm very excited to talk about their new book called The Real Food Keto that's coming out soon in November, on November 6th. So you can get it when this podcast comes out on Amazon. And you know what? This is my passion, talking about nutritional therapy and how it helps you figure out how to optimize your health from the inside out, how to teach your body to burn fat, and improve your performance for triathlons, endurance sports, or whatever you're trying to do. But, you know, for me right now, it's also just as important to improve the aging process so I can get healthier and stronger and more fit as I get older. Not the reverse. So we're going to talk about nutritional therapy, the foundations, and how it helps a keto athlete and low carb, high fat. Because as I've talked about over the last year with the holistic method program that I've created and nutritional therapy training, as I became a practitioner, that there's so much more to dive into if you want to become a fat burner. So I see a lot of clients changing what they're eating and eating more fat, but their digestive system just is not working. And we're so chronically stressed all the time, doing too much, or we have stress internally with dysbiosis or something else going on, liver congestion. There's a lot of things we need to look at. So as a practitioner, I work with each client individually. So there's not one size fits all program. What I love about what Jimmy and Christine did in this new book is went over a little bit of each of the 5 elements of the foundations of nutritional therapy and how it relates to being a fat burner. So just what we keep talking about, and I'm really excited to dive into the book and hear their story for their why for writing it. Also, it's kind of what I'm trying to do next year is take the holistic method manual that I wrote and redo it with more nutritional therapy in it and create it for the endurance athlete. So the whole athlete coaching program and for athletes to really improve their performance by working on the whole you from the inside out. So let's talk about Jimmy and Christine's new book. Here they come. All right, everyone. I have Jimmy Moore and Christine Moore on the show today, 2 very special guests that are always an inspiration to millions around the world. And they have another book out, Christine's first book called The Real Keto, well, Keto Nutritional Therapy, really. And I want to dive into it because it's something near and dear to my own passion. So welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Debbie? And thanks for having us on to talk about Real Food Keto.
Real Food Keto. It's coming out this week. And you two collaborated on this book. Is it Christine? Is this your first book?
It is my first book, and boy, what an experience.
You think you'll...
She's like, man, that book writing thing looks so easy, Jimmy. You've done 8 now. I'm like, yeah, just you wait.
Do you want to write another one now, Christine? Or just like, it's like doing an Ironman and asking someone the next day.
Yeah. No, right now, the answer is no. But the moment you answer no is the moment you'll start to write another book. So.
This is the fun part of the book writing, though, is promoting it and getting on other shows and talking about it. That's the fun part, right? You've enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's better than going through an editing process.
Yeah, I bet. So my question to start with is what I find I like to ask my guests is, what is your passion, purpose, and how you're creating impact? We know with this book, but what's your why? Talk about that.
So I wanted to get this information out there because a lot of this information in the book is not really talked about in health realms in general, and especially the ketogenic realm. And there are so many aspects like digestion, vitamin and minerals, blood sugar regulation. Of course, you talk about a little bit about blood sugar regulation when you talk about the ketogenic diet, but we get into depth with the endocrine system and detoxification. And these are all things that even if you're eating the best diet possible, if these other things are not working right, then you're still going to have health problems. And so we wanted a resource that had a lot of this information in one book for people that who are eating a good diet but still struggling with certain things. Maybe they could use this resource to kind of give them some answers.
Well, and I've been in this community a very long time, as you know, Debbie. And so whenever I venture on some new project, it's always with the purposeful intent of what has not been said. And so you asked about what our why is. My why is I want to continue the education, because we would pretend to fool ourselves if we thought that we had all the answers already. And it's one thing that I love about your work and what we're trying to do in our work is you never stop learning. You don't graduate from the school of keto and suddenly get it and suddenly understand it, and really anything in nutritional health. We're constantly learning new things. And the moment we think we've arrived and figured it all out is the moment that you stop learning and stop progressing. So that's my why. I want to continue the education and hopefully be one of those professors helping to translate it to all the lay people out there.
Perfect. So, Christine, you went to nutritional therapy school. If anyone's interested, Nutritional Therapy Association does nutritional therapy practitioner program or nutritional therapy consultant. I think it's called NTC.
Yep.
And I finished 2 years ago, and you got into it. And I was really excited as I follow you on social media that you were doing it. What led you to doing nutritional therapy? And then part two, if we better explain what is an NTP, how do you explain it?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been wanting to go back to school for a while. And I just didn't know what area that I wanted to go back and study. I mean, I have an interest in geology, so, I toyed with that. Then this opportunity came up where they had offered a scholarship for Jimmy to go through it. And because of his busy schedule, he couldn't do it. And he said, well, can my wife, Christine, go through it? And they said, sure. So he brought it to my attention. I'm like, yeah, that might be a good idea. I've watched you, Jimmy, do your thing for, a while. Maybe it would give me a good opportunity to learn more information.
And it had been how long since you've been in school at that point? A quarter century?
20 plus years, something like that. So anyway, we won't talk about that. So I was very apprehensive because I wasn't sure how easy the learning would come. I learned very easy in high school. College was a little bit harder, but learning had never been really a difficult thing for me. So once we got into the program, I realized that a lot of it was online, and that was another thing that I had to adjust to because I was used to the classroom setting. So setting aside time each week to study, and that varies from person to person depending on how you learn. It was very difficult because there wasn't really, okay, I've got to be watching this video at 3:00. It wasn't that sort of thing. It's, you set your own time, and life has a way of throwing stuff at you when you're doing extra stuff like going back to school. And so it was an adjustment that year. I got through it thanks to Jimmy talking me off the ledge about 8 times.
She wanted to quit 8 times, Debbie, and I know you were late.
So once we got through it, we learned so much information. I mean, there were different modules on different things, anatomy and physiology. I loved learning about that because we learned why the body does what it does in blood sugar regulation, the digestion of fats and all this sort of stuff. So got through the program. And then basically what an NTP does, there's a difference between the NTC and NTP. The NTCs, they're the consultants, do not learn the functional evaluation. A practitioner does. And we use this as an extra tool to kind of help our clients see where they may need extra support. So what I would do with a new client is have them fill out some paperwork, disclaimer, a 3-day food journal, an initial interview, what's called a nutritional assessment questionnaire. And all these things give me pieces of the puzzle to where my client may be struggling. And then if I see the client in person, I can do the functional evaluation on them. And there are certain points of the body that, are indicators of where you may be struggling. There's one for the pancreas. There's one for hydrochloric acid production. So, it's just an amazing process to be able to use all these tools to help a client. And we not only make dietary recommendations, but we also stress the lifestyle recommendations too, about getting enough sleep, getting exercise in, and we get into detoxification. If they're struggling in an area, we see if they need detoxification. So it's really, I'm really glad to have learned all this, because again, this stuff is not talked about, and too many people are just going around being discouraged because they're eating a clean diet, yet they're still struggling in their health. So hopefully when I see clients, I can use all of this to help them better their health.
Exactly. And that's why I'm so excited to get this book you guys put together out to the world, because nutritional therapy to me is just that missing key element to people really learning how to burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance. What I do in the Holistic Method program that I created, but it's just not known enough. And so many people are struggling to lose weight. They tried keto, low carb, high fat. They're just doing all this and not getting results because everyone's individual. And I've listened to your interviews and looked over the book, and it's just the missing part. People don't realize that, there's a root cause that you might not be looking at that is out of balance, out of whack. And I see clients every day as personal training clients and as a nutritional therapist, like, all right, we talked on Jimmy's show about chronic stress, and I talked about sleep, and the big thing I find is digestion. So I love this book, how you guys lay it out. Why did you feel that there's a need to put nutritional therapy in with it, like keto? What was your kind of main motivation or things you learned?
Well, yeah, again, just eating a ketogenic diet alone can fix some issues, but someone may be having digestion problems. And as an NTP, we look at one of the two things that I look at first is digestion or blood sugar regulation. If those two things are off, then it's likely that there's going to be stuff messed up in other areas of the body. Once you get what's called the foundations in order, then the consequences will likely be corrected. So we wanted to really talk about digestion, because the digestion, if you have undigested food, that's going to cause irritation in your intestinal lining, and that could lead to autoimmune conditions. If you're not digesting your foods properly, you're not going to be able to absorb those nutrients that are necessary for the detoxification process. So it's all interconnected. And when I learned that, it was just amazing to see how complicated everything was. Even the endocrine system, if your blood sugar is out of sorts, then it's going to be practically impossible to balance your hormones no matter what you do.
Yeah, and the foundations of nutritional therapy, what we look at are, eating a real food diet. And a lot of people, again, look at keto and low carb, high fat for that, but eating real food. Good source, properly prepared. The next part, as you're just saying, is digestion. Second pillar is blood sugar regulation, and that's related to the adrenals, the HPA axis. And then we've got mineral balance, essential fatty acids, and hydration. And I love that you touch on each of these in the book and then some, because that's what I think, people don't get it. You can't just start eating all this fat and not digest it properly, or you're doing all this, but you're still not managing your stress and sleeping right and moving and all the other elements.
Or if you start adding in more fats and it's the wrong kind of fats. Yes. I think this is something that I've seen again and again for many years, even before the keto movement came on strong in the last few years. But people were eating any kind of fat that they could get. So mayonnaise with soybean oil was kind of the norm, and is the norm for a lot of keto dieters. Stop doing that, you guys. It's very highly inflammatory for you. There's better ways to do it, which we talk about in Real Food Keto.
Yeah, the vegetable oils are the big part. And that's what I think, we're saying, as you're saying, a lot of people are just eating poor source fats, but then they're also eating in a stress state or rushing and eating. So there's a lot of people that are struggling to get the results and still like, what's wrong? Why isn't this working? So what do you say, what is your definition of being healthy?
I think it encompasses not just diet, but your relationships, your spiritual well-being, getting proper exercise. I mean, when you hear the word exercise, most people don't like that, but we have a really good friend, Daryl Edwards, who does the primal play movement things, and he makes exercise fun. He calls it movement. And so it doesn't become a chore. He just encourages you to get out there outside and play like we did when we were kids. So it encompasses all aspects, not just food and diet, your mental health, and like I said, your spiritual, your relationships, and that sort of thing.
And do you find that, do you hear from a lot of your listeners and followers, Jimmy, that they're not getting results? And have you guys put together all this information and hearing people over the years that, a common reason that people aren't getting results with the keto diet?
Yeah, I think, and we put it right there in the title, real food keto. Yeah. Hopefully someday we don't have to qualify the word food by putting real in front of it, because I think it's axiomatic that if you're going to eat food, it's going to be real. Anything that's not real isn't food. So, or as we call it in the book, food like disease agents, which is what a lot of what the quote food supply is like today. But yeah, I think this is a missing element. So many of the things that you guys talk about in nutritional therapy, they are the missing elements for people. And really nobody had applied a lot of these principles of nutritional therapy to any routine. So we thought it would be great to put it in a book, especially for all those people very interested in keto. But really this book is for anybody, regardless of your chosen diet plan.
Yes, and that's what I know Christine said in your podcast you had with her on your show the other day, that it is about bio-individuality. And I think that's a key part we need to get across to everyone, that, it's not one size fits all. Everyone's different and unique. What I eat is going to be different than what you eat to balance my blood sugar. And there's so many factors that you need to look at that I think people just don't hear that enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. And hopefully this resource will help people.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about one of those sections. I think what's a big part when I see clients is, they're coming to you, they're not getting results, they're not feeling good, they're not losing weight. But a lot of it, people are on all these medications and they'll go to the doctor. We've heard Jimmy's book, Cholesterol Clarity, and perhaps they come in and they're on thyroid medication, they're on this medication, and maybe how this book will give people more awareness to help look at the big picture and get to more of the root cause. For example, that if people have endocrine hormone issues that you have a great section on, that in nutritional therapy, we work 2 to 3 months always on their digestion first and working on those elements we discussed. So right. Let's talk about what you find this book will help people maybe create awareness if it is medication, hormone issues, thyroid.
Yeah, well, as far as the endocrine system goes, as I mentioned before, if your blood sugar is not under control, then your endocrine system is going to be out of whack. There's the adrenal glands produce something called cortisol. And pregnenolone is a precursor to your sex hormones, aldosterone, cortisol, other hormones. And so the adrenal glands take priority. It prioritizes producing the cortisol over these other hormones. And so if you're constantly in a stress state, or if you're constantly having blood sugar irregularities, then you're pumping out the cortisol, which is taking the pregnenolone from the sex hormones. And that's why it's so important that we get blood sugar under control, because if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, high processed food diet, then most likely your pancreas is already wearing out, your liver is already stressed, because your liver is responsible for over 500 functions in the body. So it's a busy organ. And So the adrenal glands kick in at that point. And so the adrenal glands are very, very needy, as I've heard it put before, a needy set of organs. So we need to take care of them. So that's why I look at digestion first and blood sugar, and I would make nutritional recommendations. And if someone does come in with thyroid problems, like I have Hashimoto's, in an autoimmune condition, I know that maybe some of that is due to elevated insulin. We're still trying to figure out why my insulin is still elevated, and probably it's due to stress. It's due to the pain that I've been in with my shoulder. So I have to look at everything that the client is dealing with and maybe make some lifestyle changes. I always tell them to consult with their doctor. If I think, like, for instance, proton pump inhibitors, if somebody comes in and is on a PPI, I will suggest that they get off of it, because a lot of times it's not a overproduction of stomach acid, it's too little stomach acid production.
To me, Debbie, that was the biggest thing that she learned in nutritional therapy that shocked me, was how like 9 out of 10 people don't have enough stomach acid.
I know.
I don't think the general public even realizes that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I will always tell them to consult with their doctor. I'll make suggestions, but I'll always tell them to consult with their doctor, because we as nutritional therapy practitioners don't diagnose issues. But if we happen to fix their diabetes in the process of making nutritional recommendations, the bonus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is just amazing to me of the stomach acid and enzymes and, fat, not being able to digest fat. And it's just crazy when I test people. And when we do, also we didn't mention, when we're doing a functional evaluation with clients, I divide it up into 4 appointments, but their functional evaluation is one session. Then we Neuralink test supplements against them and find out which supplement their body's asking for. And it's just crazy. I was working with someone yesterday. So you ask a scale 1 to 10, 10 being more, say, sensitive or hot spot, and whatever we're palpating on their reflex or their different points. And, you get the right supplements that their body needs, and they're not medication or anything. They're just nutrients. And it's just crazy. I just get so excited to see the changes. I worked with someone, it was like a 10, and then I gave them this Megaspore biotic that I've been testing on clients, and it went down to like nothing, to 2.
It is magic, though. You got to admit, to a layperson hearing this and seeing this for the first, what in the world did you just do?
Yeah. And muscle testing too. I mean, I don't do that yet. That's my future, to learn how but that's it's weird. But when you get it done on yourself, you really figure out, okay, what is lacking in my body? Which is the next question, is minerals. So mineral balance, what did you learn for people doing keto and struggling to get healthy and mineral imbalances?
Well, minerals, as you know, play an important part in just about every aspect of the body. So zinc is a mineral that's needed for stomach acid production. This is where it's all interconnected. If you're deficient in zinc, you might not be producing enough stomach acid. We hear a lot of people on the ketogenic diet who talk about having muscle cramps or dry eyes, that sort of thing. It's not because of keto necessarily. It's because when you go keto, you're dumping a lot of your glycogen stores, and as a result, you develop an electrolyte imbalance. So it's really important to get the foods that have these minerals in it. And then we like to take Himalayan sea salt. If I find a muscle cramp coming on, then I have a supplement that I use from Jigsaw Health called Electrolyte Supreme. And it has everything mixed in there already together. So you're getting a healthy balance of all these electrolytes. And then, minerals are needed for cofactors for other functions in the body. Zinc is needed for a healthy immune system. Let me see. Calcium is responsible for the contraction and relaxation of muscles. And so, but if you have a magnesium deficiency, then you're likely to have heart palpitations. I mean, as you can see, minerals are so important.
Yeah. I find that's a big part, zinc, looking into zinc with people. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, you've talked a lot about, keto and cholesterol clarity over the years and created amazing business with it and low carb, high fat cruises and all that you've done over the years. And the 12th annual low carb cruise coming up next year, and I'll be on it.
Yes, you will.
Yay. Everyone should come with us. But what have you learned adding nutritional therapy from, writing this book with your lovely wife? What have you learned that really made a difference to your mindset of being keto and healthy?
Oh my gosh. I think it's because it's put on the radar screen that there's so much more to keto than just the macros.
Yes.
And I think in the general keto community, you see a lot of people and even a lot of the books tend to focus in on the macronutrients. You might get a little bit of lifestyle things in there from time to time about controlling stress and getting adequate sleep, but very few get into the physicalness of what's going on when things are out of whack inside your body. So if your digestion isn't working right, nobody's really talking about how you're supposed to fix that first and make sure your body can handle the digestion of fats, making sure that you have plenty of stomach acid. That part 3, basically, where we talk about applying nutritional therapy, that's the one when we were writing this book, I said, all right, Chris, come here, just plop on the ground because I'm going to have so many questions for you trying to understand and communicate it. But that to me was just it was worth getting the book alone just for those chapters on nutritional therapy. Again, nobody's ever written it in a book before, and it was really cool to get that information out there. But also to all the people interested in keto, they're going to get a whole lot more than just keto in this book.
Definitely. And you had the Nutritional Therapy Association founder be a part of this book. So Graham, did he read the book? And
oh yeah, Greg Graham's been a good friend of mine for many years.
Really?
And so Christine, we went to the NTA conference earlier this year. For the first time, they had a keto panel. And so I got to moderate the panel, and there were a couple of NTP friends of mine, Sean Miner and Leah Williamson, on the panel. And we just talked all about how you apply ketogenic diets, basically what we did in our book on a panel. And Christine, she was so enamored when Gray walked by at the conference, and she's like, I'm going to ask him to write the foreword to our book. I'm like, go ahead.
Well, no, it was actually fun because I had asked you to ask him for me.
And I did.
But then something happened. I saw him in the hallway, and he stopped to talk to us. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to ask him now. The worst he could say is no. And when he said yes, I nearly fell on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. He's been at this for a very long time. And yeah, like I said, he's followed my work for many years. And so, yeah, we sent him the book, and that forward, did you get a chance to read it? That forward is just fabulous. So if you read his forward, hopefully gets you pumped up like a coach talking to a football team about wanting to go play that game and win the game.
Yeah. It's really amazing because I always struggle that not more people know about nutritional therapy. And I just think it should, everyone needs to see a nutritional therapist because we all have got areas of opportunity and something out of balance and dysfunctions in our system that we could be feeling a 10 instead of surviving and thinking this is the best I get, a 1 on a scale 1 to 10, I feel a 6. And it's like people settle for that. And I think we need to, I would say optimize your health, but look for alternative methods to get your body feeling better, and don't use the whole age excuse that I feel like crap and I don't have, good digestion because I'm getting older. It's like, no, we can help you improve that process.
So Debbie, one of the stated goals that Christine and I have with this book is that it becomes this inspiration for people to get interested in nutritional therapy or for themselves and their own health, and or to inspire them to, hey, this sounds like something I could do to help more people. So hang on to your hats, Nutritional Therapy Association. You're about to get inundated.
Thank you so much. That's great. And Christine, I love that you shared your very personal story. I know it's hard to do. I did in My Life Is Not a Race book. It's kind of about, I was just opening my heart. So you really just dumped it all out there and shared your life and kind of how you have different health issues as well as that we all do. But, sharing that personal story was a great way to start the book. Thank you. I did want to give hope to people because so many people are struggling and they feel like that there's no hope for them. And in all honesty, there are people out there that have gone through worse things than I have. But I wanted to let people know that you can improve things, and it's as simple as making the connection between your diet and these things. And like I said in the introduction, I don't blame my parents for everything that happened. They were doing the best that they could. They were doing what they were told by the dietary guidelines, and they were listening to advertisements on television. They didn't have this information, so I don't blame them one bit. And it was just fascinating for me to see as I made certain changes and learned about nutrition, how even my eyesight got better, which I was born 3 months early. I'm blind in my left eye from birth due to detached retina from the oxygen that the doctors gave me to keep me alive. And that process started in my right eye, but they caught it in time. And so I have very poor vision in my right eye as well. But each year...
That's why I look so good, Debbie.
Funny. But each year I would go to the eye doctor and my eyesight would progressively get worse. And I thought that was just the way it was going to be. About 3 or 4 months after I started keto, getting really serious, I went back to my eye doctor for my annual checkup. And lo and behold, my eyesight actually got better.
So we had to buy $1,200 glasses the other direction. I was like, really? You still have those from last year?
Yeah. So that was just amazing. And my parents were amazed. And I've been at the same prescription now for 7 years.
We'll take it.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a great success story. Because I think a lot of people, as I said earlier, just settle and they don't strive to find answers to their, and their symptoms that they can't get answers for. And they just like, I just find that frustrating.
Disease and aging has become normal in our culture. And I think what we're all saying on this call today is it's not normal to be diseased no matter what age you are.
Yeah. And my parents are, getting 77, late 70s, and all their friends. It's just so frustrating to hear all their health problems when I know as my training with nutritional therapy that shouldn't be going through what they're going through. It's just crazy.
You're so right. And watching family go through that can be some of the hardest things because you would think that they would listen to you and take your advice. But I mean, Jimmy saw that with his own full-blooded brother, Kevin. I mean, Kevin, did the improvements for a while, but then he started feeling better and got worse again. And Jimmy couldn't help him in the end.
Well, and there's also this thing of powdered butt syndrome. If
I love that.
If they powdered your bottom at any point in your life, you really don't know anything.
Powdered butt bottom.
Oh, you haven't heard that before?
No.
So like if your mama or daddy, because you were a baby, had to powder your butt for you. Yeah, I'm sure Kevin powdered my butt for me when he was like 4 or 5 or whatever.
I know.
When I was born.
I think that refers to like any family member.
Anybody that would have, changed your diaper.
Oh, that's funny. So another totally different question we haven't talked about, but I think it's great to share the Pottinger study. And I know we talk a lot about nutritional therapy, but I think this just comes to light more that I need to share the Pottinger study, kind of what they found, Weston A. Price, because I just heard 1 out of 10 kids are becoming ADHD or have ADHD. And you just wonder, okay, why, because of our environment and sugars, but it's just interesting. You look at the Pottinger cat study. So you shared that in the book, and I think that's great. Can you just kind of give a brief explanation of the study, Pottinger?
Sure. So Pottinger studied 900 cats, and including their offspring. He fed them one group a cooked meat diet, milk and then a supplement of cod liver oil. The other group, he fed raw meat, milk, and the supplement. So the only difference was the cooked and raw meat. And he found that the offspring of the cats that ate the cooked meat, they started experiencing different problems, degenerative problems like this. Their facial structures changed. They started having, they became more aggressive. They started losing their fur. And this carried on throughout their generations. And what he found out once he switched the cats back to their natural diet of the raw food, it took 4 generations for those degenerative things to go away. I mean, it was just really fascinating. He did even one step further by feeding a group of cats raw milk, and then it went all the way down to the condensed sweetened milk. And then he observed the differences there. And problems that the cats had that ate or consumed the condensed sweet milk were just really, they started having miscarriages. Their litter, their kittens were not consistent in structure. So, I mean, it's fascinating to see, even with cats, that these things happen. But there is hope in that we see, if once you get back to the diet that you were meant to eat, a lot of these degenerative diseases can be reversed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's looking at the years, that was 32.
Yes. Yeah.
A 10-year study. But
yes,
he learned a lot from another person that we follow a lot in nutritional therapy and functional medicine is Dr. Weston A. Price. And if you guys haven't heard of that, you can learn a lot. The Weston A. Price Foundation still continues to share studies and nutritional guidance. But let's talk about the big lessons learned from what Dr. Weston A. Price went and studied different countries around the world and was a dentist, but let's kind of go over his briefly and then we'll get into the diet.
Sure. So he observed in all of these healthy traditional cultures that all of them ate nose to tail, all of them bone broth, all of them incorporated salt, all of them properly prepared their foods, and all of them incorporated fermented foods in their diet. And so that's why in our recipe section in our book, we wanted Maria Emmerich to come up with a couple of recipes for fermented food, because that can be such an intimidating thing. But I mean, it was amazing also that Dr. Price found no healthy vegan society, because a lot of the nutrients that are necessary for good health, vegans are often deficient in. And I just appreciate the work that Weston A. Price did to kind of pioneer all of this information so we could have it today.
Yes. And that kind of puts that all together. The first part of the book, the book is 372 pages long. So it's filled with information.
You're welcome.
And you have Maria, who's the queen of determining amazing recipes from foods that we love and making them more keto. And so part 4 is recipes, but we have the food, real keto, real food keto plan. So kind of talk about that. Probably, is that more Jimmy? Are you on that side of it, or is that?
You know, a lot of people, they kind of fret over what should I eat? What should I eat? And so we kind of laid out the meal plans and gave you options that you could choose, and lots of great, delicious recipes there. I don't know about you, Debbie, but I kind of like the simplicity of things and not really making real complex things. And so that's the way I go. But some people like the recipe route, and definitely incorporating these foods that we include in here that you don't get in a lot of keto books, things like bone broth. We have a low sugar, kombucha, those kinds of things really are helpful. Now, we do have takeaways at the end of each chapter that helps to solidify the information. So if you're one of those, all right, tell me what I'm supposed to zero in on, and you can see it at the end of each chapter, these real food keto takeaways, that's the main point. So if you read it and you kind of get to that point in the book and you go, wait a minute, I don't remember that. Go back and reread.
Yeah.
Because we highlight the biggest takeaways.
What's the goal to help people kind of rethink how they do keto and, you know, the new the recipes in it, what do you find your goal is to when people read over this and maybe they've been following keto already? What would you like people to do differently?
So we have 3 different audiences that we think this book would be perfect for, and actually 4, but we didn't state the 4th one. So the first group are people that are already interested in keto. You've been out there, you've been eating low carb, moderate protein, high fat, and that's your jam. But you're not eating real food. We want to put real food on the map and why you should. And so talking about all the micronutrition in there is what that's about. And so then we have people that eat real food, people that might be coming from the paleo or Whole30 or locavore kind of movement, but they don't see the value that keto offers them. So we're hoping that this becomes a resource for them. But then here's the biggie, Debbie. There's a lot of people that don't give a crap about either one of those things. So we want to make them give a crap. So we put it right there in the title, Real Food Keto. And this book's going to be in Costco Black Friday week and all through the holidays. So we're hoping just casual people walk by it and go, oh yeah, I've heard about this keto thing. Real food's healthy. Let me pick this up. So, that was kind of the hope too, that people that don't do anything right now start to care, and they get a double woozy of being able to see both the real food and the keto in the same place. And then the final one that we didn't talk about in the book, but I think is a huge category, is all you wonderful NTPs out there and NTCs who are teaching nutritional therapy. We're hoping this becomes a resource you can share with your clients so that as you work with them, they understand a little better about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm already getting all my clients to get this. And I love it that you're getting it in Costco. That's a huge success. And during the holiday season. I
had success in my past.
Well, that's great.
Thank you, Keto Clarity.
Well, yeah. It shows that you're writing books. I must say, I read your other books so quickly. They're very easy to read. And that's why I love your books. I've been trying to read a book a month, and some of them just I can't get into. But I love the way you write now, Christine, writing that it's easy to follow and read and you get into it. And it makes it simple. I love having all your books have had that kind of, here's the takeaways, end of the chapter. And it just is simple. It's not complicated and you get it. And so many other books, I find it I fall asleep, I can't get into it. But your books, I just read super fast. And so I love this one.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. That's by design, by the way. One of the things when I was getting offered to write books, that they said was, you want to write books? Absolutely. Because one of the gaps that I saw when I first started eating this way was all of the books that were in the mainstream about this, they were all kind of science-y written in terms of really complex language, and you try to translate it and don't even try to tell somebody about Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes. That will blow your mind. It's so complicated for even people that know this stuff. And so I felt like my contribution to the community is, okay, I'm a teacher at heart. And so if I can explain it and make it easy to understand some complex topic, it may not be the full dissertation on everything about that subject, but it at least gets you interested with your foot in the door so that maybe then you can go and learn more on your own.
Exactly. I just love that. It's great. My type of book. And you guys, the recipes in here are, of course, amazing. And the keto eggnog, and there's all these desserts. So I always find that people get confused that they can't have any treats. I'm like, oh, these treats in keto are better. And she has these great fat bombs, and I always make them at Christmas time and the holiday season, Thanksgiving, and you can find all sorts of yummy recipes. And Maria always, I don't know how she does it, but she's got a talent for taking those recipes.
Yep. And I'm really looking forward to that eggnog. That's one thing I have missed was eggnog.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I know it's coming out at Costco. Where else is, of course, Amazon. And
yes. So when it comes out, it'll be obviously on Amazon, but Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all the usual suspects. And then, later in the month, right at Black Friday week, which is the perfect week for a new book to get into Costco. We're really honored about that. But wherever books are sold. And also, Christine and I read the audiobook. So I've done all my own audiobooks. And so I was like, hey, Chris, you want to read a little bit of this Real Food Keto with me, especially that introduction that has her story. it just made perfect sense, Debbie. And so that'll come out in a couple weeks from now, should be available on Audible.
Perfect. Because I think, people are spending more time driving in traffic and going home, commuting to work. And so it's a great thing to listen to while you're in your car and you need to listen to something besides you. And one more thing I want to throw in is this back of the book. There's this excellent chart, the allergen index. I think it's great to go with all the recipes. So if you're not able to do dairy, eggs, or nuts, there's a chart that tells you which recipes to go to. And there's an index for all the resources and the references. So it's filled with information. So it's definitely a book I want all my clients to read. And as I do more nutritional therapy coaching myself, you did all the work for me. I'll just tell them to go buy the book online and read the book, and then I'll help, coach people as well. So Christine, you're doing more nutritional therapy coaching. Where can people find you for more information on your coaching services?
So I have a website, rebootingyournutrition.com, and you can send me a message there, contact me through there, and I'll respond to you.
Good deal. And then Jimmy, are you getting coached by your wife? Or are you seeing?
Oh yeah, I was her practice client when she was going through the program, and I slapped her a few times.
Yeah, spouses cannot help each other. You have to go seek other people. I've learned.
I was so hot in various areas, and not because I'm an awesome husband, but the other way. I was hot in different spots. She was pushing on. Pulsating on. realfoodketo.com is the website for the book. And then you can go find me, livinlavida.lowcarb.com or Jimmy Moore. Just Google that. The first 3 pages is all my stuff.
Perfect. And what's the website again for the cruise? Because I'd love everyone to join us on the cruise ship trip.
Yeah, and we're honored to have you as a featured speaker next year. So lowcarbcruiseinfo.com.
Good deal. Well, thanks everyone. If you have any questions, you can go to our Facebook page, The Whole Athlete Podcast, and also Instagram, The Holistic Athletes, my Instagram page. And I know Jimmy Moore is all over Facebook and has many groups you can join to learn more and get a little more questions, Q&A from a lot of his followers. And I always find great to be part of those groups because you can learn from other people and hear kind of what people's struggles are and also successes. So it's great. Thanks for everything you're doing. You guys are the best and really ahead of the ball game, just getting this information out there and helping transform more lives.
Thank you. You're pretty amazing too.
Trying. It's a mission myself. As you said, we always want to keep learning. So thank you for joining that journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.